Hey YouTube, it's Eric. I'm hoping this video won't be too long, but this is just like another. I guess I did 2 or 3 videos back. I did a video on New Orleans commenting how the recent mayor Mitch Landrieu, who I suspect was a lay Jesuit. He's a huge sanctuary city advocate. Mitch Landrieu went to Jesuit High School, Catholic University of America, and Jesuit Loyola University, and was a professor there. And I commented how the 2 of the 3 recent police chiefs, um, Benjamin J. Harrison and Ronald Surpass, were also Jesuit trained, and how the Jesuits control the New Orleans Saints organization. Current president of the team, Fred Lauscha, went to Jesuit High School and Jesuit Loyola and got the Alumnus of the Year award from Jesuit Loyola, Fred Lauscha. The current owner of the team, Gail Benson, and Fred Lauscha is also the president of the New Orleans Pelicans, as well as the Saints. The same company owns both of them, the Bensons. Um, and the Gail Benson was knighted as a pro ecclesia pontifex, which is one of the highest orders that lay people can get in the Catholic Church. It's overwhelming. But literally, I found Mitch Landrieu had a dad, Moon Landrieu, who is also a mayor. He was the mayor, started in 1970, and from Moon Landrieu to Mitch Landrieu, there were 6 consecutive Jesuit-trained mayors of the city of New Orleans. Like 6 consecutive, like literally 6. And I'll respond to. I noticed tonight I got quite a few comments on my channel. I'll take the time to respond to those tomorrow. But I couldn't believe 6 consecutive Jesuit-trained mayors. 6, and I linked these guys' Wikipedia bios in the description box in the order that they were mayor of New Orleans. So this is Mitch, and this is the guy I covered in the video I did titled "Jesuits Openly Controlling New Orleans." This is Mitch Landrieu. He was the recent mayor from 2010 to 2018. He got New Orleans into becoming an unofficial sanctuary city, continuing the Roman Catholic Latino invasion there. We see here, Mitch Landrieu is also the president of the United Conference of Mayors, as well as being lieutenant governor of Louisiana. He was a member of the Louisiana House of Representatives as well, going all the way back to 1988. And actually, there's a Mary Landrieu in the family. This woman's also very Catholic. I don't think she was trained by the Jesuits, but she's hyper Catholic. She raised Roman Catholic, daughter of Moon Landrieu, sister of Mitch Landrieu. She's in the Louisiana House. So and she was the chair of the Senate Energy Committee. Interestingly, she was the U.S. senator from Louisiana for 15 years. But here's Moon Landrieu. Just like Mitch Landrieu, Moon Landrieu has a lay Jesuit background. You see here, Moon Landrieu went to Jesuit High School. Okay, and then he got a scholarship to Jesuit Loyola University, where Moon Landrieu received a Bachelor's of Art in Business Administration. Look at this. As an undergraduate at Jesuit Loyola New Orleans, Moon Landrieu was elected to the student body president at Loyola. After a 3-year stint in the Army, Landrieu opened a law practice and taught accounting at Jesuit Loyola. You look at that. And you see, Miss Landrieu got really behind the Civil Rights Act. One of the biggest advocates of the Civil Rights Act was Catholic priest Theodore Hesburgh, Teddy Hesburgh. He was on the Council of Foreign Relations, on the board of Chase National Bank, on the board as well as the Rockefeller Foundation. He was the permanent representative to the International Atomic Energy Commission from the United States. And also another Jesuit that was really involved in the civil rights movement was John Lafarge, S.J. Through his Lafarge Institute, Martin Luther King went to the Vatican even. You can see a photo of Martin Luther King with the head of the Vatican Bank, Archbishop Paul Marcinkus, who was directly involved in the assassination of Pope John Paul I and Roberto Calvi in the P2 scandal. But you see here, you can't mix up. So Moon Landrieu was mayor from 1970 to 1978. He was then in Jimmy Carter's administration as the United States Secretary of Housing and Urban Development from 79 to 81. And then he was also a member of the Louisiana House of Representatives. But you can't make this stuff up, guys. Let me see here. Yeah, so this Moon Landrieu was behind the Superdome in New Orleans. He was he was mayor when the Piazza d'Italia was constructed. Construction of the downtown development district. He revitalized the new central business district. Let me see here. Yeah, and his personal papers are at Loyola. Like his son, Mitch Landrieu, he was the president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors from 1970. He was president. Moon Landrieu was president 1975 to 1976. But the Landrieux of Louisiana are just like the Cuomos of New York. You got Mitch, Moon, and Mary Landrieu. So there's the first of the six consecutive Jesuit trained mayors. so after Mitch Landrieu was mayor, he was succeeded by Ernest Nathaniel Morial, who's right here. Ernest Nathaniel Morial, American political figure, leading civil rights advocate. He was the first African American mayor of New Orleans, serving from 1978 to 1986. He was the father of Mark Morial, another Jesuit-educated mayor of New Orleans, who subsequently served as mayor of New Orleans from 1994 to 2002. You see here, where did Ernest Morial go to school? Well, he attended the Roman Catholic, the Institute Catholique, known as the École des Orphans Indigents and Couvent School. Also, says Wikipedia names this the Holy Redeemer Elementary School. But this was a specific Catholic school for blacks. Actually, interesting. Afro-Manhattan mentioned that the Jesuits were doing that in the 20th century. They were creating Catholic schools specifically just for blacks. The Jesuits were the main force behind this. And actually, with the Civil Rights Movement, there's a passage in Emmanuel Josephson's book, The Federal Reserve Conspiracy, where he quotes an interesting passage from Pope Pius XII, where Pope Pius XII is saying to the African Americans of the American continent that the Vatican and the Pope are like a paternal influence on them. Like they can view the Pope as like a paternal, like so I'll pull up that quote while I'm going through this. What was that here? Actually, I have it on my Wikipedia page. Pretty sure, or Instagram page, not Wikipedia. I apologize. But you see here, I'll just continuing. So this Ernest Nathan Morial, first black mayor of New Orleans in office 1978 to 1986. He then went to Jesuit Xavier University in New Orleans. Or no, actually, is this? This is in Cincinnati. This is Xavier University of Louisiana. Okay, this is another Xavier University of Louisiana, Catholic liberal arts college. It's historically black. Oh, it's an historically black Roman Catholic institution of higher education. Okay, I thought this was Xavier, New Orleans, but he's Catholic educated again here. You see, he went to Holy Redeemer Elementary School, and then Xavier University, New Orleans. Okay. There's many incidents of police brutality under this Catholic mayor here, Ernest Nathan Morial. Let me just see here. Pretty sure this guy got an honorary degree from Loyola. Let me just type this in. Oh, actually, he was a member of the Loyola University board, it looks like. Just what the NY Times this year. Okay, look at this. He was a board member at Jesuit Loyola. Jesuit Loyola University, and this could be the Catholic Xavier University in New Orleans, or in Louisiana. I apologize. Or this could be the Jesuit Xavier University in Cincinnati. But you see here, the mayor, Ernest Morial, was a board member at Jesuit Loyola. Okay, there's 6 consecutive mayors. 6. So after Ernest Nathan Morial was mayor, he had Sidney Barthélemy. Actually, Ernest Morial was also a member of the Louisiana House of Representatives for District 20 in office 1967 to 1970. So Sidney Barthélemy, I'll pull up the picture of this guy. You see here, he's a former American political figure, second African American to hold the New Orleans mayoral chair. He was a member of the Louisiana State Senate from 1974 to 1978 and a member at large of the New Orleans City Council from 1978 to 1986. He served as mayor of New Orleans from 1986 to 1994. He is a member of the Democratic Party. Okay. You see here, where did Sidney Bartholomew go to school? This one is interesting here. He went to Catholic St. Augustine High School in preparation for entering the priesthood. He then studied at the Epiphany Apostolic Junior College, Catholic, in Newborough, New York, and then entered the Roman Catholic St. Joseph Seminary in Washington, D.C., where New Orleans Mayor Sidney Bellamy, received a Bachelor of Arts and degree in philosophy and pursued a graduate study in theology. While in the seminary, he worked summers as a laborer at a stevedoring company. You have a Catholic seminarian becoming mayor here. I guess is unbelievable. And actually, you see here, look at so here's a question to the Jesuits. While he served in the legislature, he also joined Jesuit Xavier University as assistant director of the Urban Vol program and as an instructor in the Department of Sociology, and became an adjunct faculty member in the Applied Sciences Department of Tulane University. While Sidney Bartholomew was mayor, the Catholic seminarian, he joined Jesuit Xavier. Shocking, eh? I'll show you a picture of this guy here. Literally a Catholic seminarian on the board of affiliated with Jesuit Xavier while mayor. There he is there, Sidney Bartholomew. And he was succeeded by Mark Morial. Mark Morial, American political civic leader and current president of the National Urban League. He's the president of the National Urban League, which is based in New York City, that advocates on behalf of African Americans against racial discrimination in the United States. Okay, you have to realize the Jesuits are sponsoring Black Lives Matter because it's all surface level at the end of the day. They're not telling these people the root causes. They're just pandering to people's emotions. A lot of it is race baiting as well. You see here, Mark Morial, mayor of New Orleans, 1994 to 2002, preceded Sidney Bartholomew. And look at this, doctorate from Jesuit Georgetown University, right there. He also went to Jesuit High School, and he also got a degree in economics from the covertly Jesuit-controlled University of Pennsylvania. Look at that, Jesuit High School in Georgetown University. He's also a member of the ACLU from 1986 to 1989. One of his opponents in the 1994 mayor election was Mitch Landrieu, Jesuit trained. We see here on the issue of endemic corruption, the city's department was addressed after Morial hired Richard Pennington as police superintendent. On Pennington's first day of work, Morial introduced the new superintendent to investigators from the Federal Bureau of Inquisition, the Catholic-dominated FBI. Read the book, The FBI and the Catholic Church by Steve Rossum. It's on archive.org now. Together, they worked to rout out corruption in the New Orleans Police Department. It's a load of bullshit. The New Orleans police chief after Pennington, Ronald Surpass, is now a professor at Jesuit Loyola. He's gone to American University of D.C. And so this was the police chief that was appointed. He also worked at U.S. Steel. That's interesting. Yeah, this guy was also the chief of the Atlanta PD. You have to look into Richard Pennington a little more. Okay. So during 9/11, he served the New Orleans public school system by assuming the control of the city's public schools to turn around their performance. He was trying the approach of other mayors, such as the devout Roman Catholic Richard M. Daley in Chicago. Literally like 6 consecutive mayors. And here's the next one here, Ray Nagin. This guy actually recently went to jail for corruption charges. So in 2014, Nagin was convicted on 21 charges of wire fraud, bribery, and money laundering related to bribes from city contractors before and after Katrina, and was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison. In this guy, he self-wrote his memoirs, Katrina Secret Storms After the Storms. You see here Clarence Ray Nagin Jr., mayor of New Orleans from 2002 to 2000, a Democrat. He was mayor in 2005 in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. If you're not aware, there were Blackwater troops in New Orleans in the aftermath of Katrina. Blackwater, founded by Knights of Malta, Eric Prince, and Joseph Smith. Joseph Smith is also Opus Dei and trained at Georgetown. You see Ray Nagin, where did he go to school? Went to Roman Catholic St. Augustine's High School, right here. All boys Periarchical School. Where is this here? So this guy was affiliated with the Loyola. Give me a second. Yeah, so this guy went to Catholic St. Augustine's. Actually, so here he was followed. So his family lived on Allen Street in the 7th Ward. So his family lived in St. Peter Clavier Catholic Church, right there. That was interesting there. But let me. Here's an article here. 4 mayors of New Orleans reflected, joked at Loyola University tonight. Here's Mayor-elect LaToya. That's the current mayor, LaToya Cantrell. Mayor Mitch Landrieu, former Mayor Sidney Barthélemy, Mayor Moon Landrieu, and Gambit political editor Classy Dubois to discuss the state and city tonight at Ed Renwick's lecture series at Loyola University. That's funny. Oh. Yeah, so Nagin might not have openly been educated by Jesuit. Dubois joked that he was visiting former Mayor Radjin, who's serving in sentence in a Texas federal prison. Nagin lived in a Catholic church and was educated at 2 Catholic schools. So, I guess that's the same to me as being trained by the Jesuits. Yeah, after the corrupt Ray Nagin was in office, he came into the current sanctuary city mayor, Jesuit trained Mitchell Landrieu. So I guess 5 in the open Jesuit trained mayors, 7 consecutive Catholic mayors, because LaToya Cantrell is also Roman Catholic. And you see here that she was speaking at Loyola University. Where was that article? Yeah, so I'll link this in the description because this headline kind of sums up what this whole video is about. All these mayors are controlled by the Jesuits. But I'm just going to check the comment box here. An interesting story actually I found tonight was in Russia with Felix Dzerzhinsky, the Jesuit or the Polish Roman Catholic head of the Soviet secret police, who Dzerzhinsky wanted to become a Jesuit priest as a youth, but in Moscow in 2005, the Russian Moscow Police Department built a statue of the Roman Catholic Felix Dzerzhinsky, the head of the Soviet secret police. So that's very symbolic, to say the least, I think, of what's coming down the pipe for Russia. And Russia, they've officialized legal diplomatic relations with the Vatican in 2008. Here's the article here. If you have Translate on your Google Chrome, you can read this, but this is from the Lenta. I'll show you the statue of Catholic Felix Dzerzhinsky in Moscow. Might computer loads. It's being a little slow here. Apologize for that. There it is, right there. The Inquisitor of the the Soviet Bolshevik Revolution. Really, Felix Dzerzhinsky, head of the Cheka secret police, devout Roman Catholic, and he's getting a statue of him now on the open. That's at the Moscow Police Department. You know, Vladimir Putin is very, very close with the Vatican. In 2017, the Vatican Secretary of State Pietro Parlin, he was the Secretary of State who was the first open Vatican official to go to the Bilderberg conference. But Putin saw the Vatican Secretary of State in 2017, and he's always calling for we need to get behind the Pope, and the Pope needs to teach us all proper morals. And really, it's comedy. Putin killed hundreds of his own people during the 1999 apartment bombings attack. He's a KGB agent. That means he's a Jesuit pawn, ultimately. But I think that's all for this one. Just in your face, Jesuit control of New Orleans. Like, are you kidding me? 6 consecutive mayors. Unbelievable. But yeah, that's all for this one, YouTube. Peace and love. And let me check the chat. Oh, hey, Blue Blood, how's it going? Where's your mayor at? Is that, pretty sure I remember you saying, you're out west, are you not? Yeah, like that's key. A lot of people got to look into these mayors. So, like, for instance, like Boston, this was pretty funny because the current Boston mayor, Marty Walsh, has a Boston accent. But this guy's such a clown. You just hear him talking about gun control. He's like, oh, we need to get all the guns off the street of Boston. We need to get all the guns. Like, this guy is a papist, went to Jesuit Boston College, and he made Boston a sanctuary city. And he nominated the papist William Bruce Evans as his chief of police, who is currently the president of security at Jesuit Boston College. But these Jesuit mayors is a real thing. Like Marty Walsh, as soon as he became mayor, made Boston into a sanctuary city. This guy's a clown. I'm just pointing this guy out because he has the Boston accent. But yeah, this guy's like a gun fanatic too, trying to get all the guns off the street. But yeah, I think that's all for this one. Peace and love. Stay vigilant, everyone. I'll catch you on the next video. Oh, is that your mayor's name, Nenshi? Oh, mayor of Calgary, Alberta. Okay, I'll have to look into this guy. Calgary's not. I don't think Calgary's a sanctuary city. I know Toronto's a sanctuary city. Canadian cities are sanctuary cities. I'll have to look into this guy more, Blue Blood. Interesting stuff. It's part of the Keystone Oil Pipeline. Oh, that's funny. I bet he's a pawn of the dollar. But yeah, I think that's all for this one, YouTube. Peace and love, and Numnast. All the best. Oh, Calgary is a sanctuary city. Well, there you go. There you go. Yeah. Whoa, lots of Catholic churches in Calgary. Look at that. Whoa. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Well, not too shabby. 20 Catholic churches in Calgary. Oof. Actually, one big thing on Canada just came to my attention not too long ago. Just with in 1974, the lay Jesuit Pierre Trudeau, Jesuit trained at the College of Jean Brebeuf, what he actually he changed the regulations of the Bank of Canada in 1974 up till 1974. From 1935 till 1974, the Bank of Canada only borrowed money from the government of Canada only borrowed money from the Bank of Canada, and that money was interest free. But the Jesuit in St. Pierre Trudeau created official diplomatic relations with the Vatican. Um, Look at this here. Look what Pierre Trudeau. This is from an article from the Canadian Dimension. Now that I'm talking of it, I should just bring this up. People aren't aware of this. This was at the Basel Committee with Jesuit trained Pierre Trudeau. The solution to the quote stagflation of the time was to encourage governments to borrow from private banks that charged interest and end the practice of borrowing interest free from their own publicly owned banks. The argument was that publicly owned banks inflate the money supply and prices, whereas chartered banks supposedly only recycle pre-existing money. When they purposely suppressed that the banks create the money that they lend, just as public banks do. And as banking specialist Ellen Brown states, quote, the difference is simply that a publicly owned bank returns the interest to the government and the community, while a privately owned bank siphons the interest into its capital account to be reinvested at further interest, progressively drawing money out of the productive economy. The effect of such a change would remove a powerful economic tool from the hands of democratic governments and give such a control to a cabal of foreign bankers. And he's just talking here like when Pierre Trudeau did this, like no one challenged him whatsoever. No challenge, right? The Jesuit Pierre Trudeau by like now there's like Canadians owe like $1.5 trillion in debt to foreign banks directly because of Jesuit trained Pierre Trudeau. Like what can you say? Their handprint is all over the place. Actually, with Canada, people aren't aware. Like Canada's even more like really overtly Catholic controlled than the United States. I'll show you an example of this here. Go down to my bookmarks. Like if you look at Governor Generals like Jules Laguerre was the 21st Governor General of Canada. The Governor General actually occupies a place higher than the Prime Minister. He was recommended, though, Jules Laguerre was recommended by Jesuit-trained Pierre Trudeau to be Governor General. And look who Jules Laguerre. Who is this here? His brother was Paul-Émile Laguerre, who was the Archbishop of Montreal. Would you look at that? Paul-Émile Laguerre, Archbishop of Montreal, elevated to the cardinalate by Pope Pius XII. You look at that. Actually, my computer is cooperates here. I want to find that quote from Emmanuel Josephson's book from Pope Pius XII's encyclical, commenting how the Vatican is like a paternal figure to the blacks living in America. And it's funny, like like the YouTubers. These guys are black YouTubers, but Richie from Boston and Bro Sanchez. I found a clip of Richie from Boston, the YouTuber, or not Richie from Boston. RFG Chosen One. I'm sorry, RFG Chosen One and Bro Sanchez. RFG Chosen One says on a videotape that he went to Catholic Charities with Bro Sanchez, and that they were like disclosing information with each other at Catholic Charities. And both of these guys, blame the Jews for everything. So it goes pretty deep. You're a disinfo agent on the internet, like RFG Chosen One with Bro Sanchez with like 40,000 subscribers, like are connected to the Jesuits and the Catholic Church in some way. And they, in that case, both of them worked together at Catholic Charities before coming out to make disinformation videos on the internet to mislead more blacks out there. Where was I think it was in this file here. I don't know why my computer's so slow right now. Ridiculous. Okay, I'll pull it up on a future video. Yeah, my computer's acting up. Um, oh, let's see. Oh, I put this book on archive.org too. The Federal Reserve Conspiracy and the Rockefellers, their gold corner. You're not aware Nelson Rockefeller was coached into politics by Malcolm Wilson, a lay Jesuit trained at Fordham and Fordham Prep, got his doctorate at Fordham, spent 15 years with the Jesuits before getting into politics. And Malcolm Wilson was a member of the Jesuit retreat house in New York, which was interestingly founded on September 11th. September 11th, 1911. Like, my reader is what's going on with this. Oh, okay. What the heck? I just want to find. Okay, here's the quote here. Thanks for being patient, guys. This is the quote here I just wanted to mention because, like I mentioned, that I've noticed is just like if you watch my videos on the Jesuit police chiefs, there's an overwhelming amount of black Jesuit trained police chiefs in the U.S. Barack Obama, president, was taught how to be quote a community organizer by a ex Jesuit Greg Galuzzo. Read the New York Times article, "The Catholic Roots of I think it was Obama's Social Doctrine." It's on my uh, archive.org page. But look at this here. The encyclical I wanted to show you. So let's read a bit of Emmanuel Josephson from up here. Um, Whatever may have been his qualities as a family man and a master of foreign exchange, Pope Pius XII. Pope Pius XII had three Jesuit confessors, but Augustin Bay S.J. was one of his confessors, and Karl Rahmer S.J., who was one of the writers of Vatican II, was also one of Pius XII's Jesuit confessors, but Pius XII can hardly be regarded as being a diplomatic in his exposure of the Vatican's design to use for its purpose the American Negroes. Though there is no record of his having any interest in Negroes enslaved in Africa, Asia, and elsewhere, with the full approval of the Church, that's right, in support of his canon law, Pope Pius XII in his first encyclical expressed, quote, concern for the American Negroes. The encyclical here, so if you want to, this encyclical is probably on the internet in full, but it's called Certum Letitae. Probably pronouncing that wrong. Issued in 1939, the first year of his reign, as an encyclical of commemorating the first 150th year of the Church in the United States. Pope Pius XII announced, quote, we confess we feel a special paternal affection for the Negro people dwelling among you. That's what the Pope Pius XII put in his encyclical. And think about Louis Farrakhan. Louis Farrakhan's a perfect example of a false prophet sent out to work for the Pope to pacify and deceive the black population, getting all the blacks thinking the Jews are behind everything. Farrakhan openly speaks in Catholic churches. There's all sorts of stories about that. Farrakhan's always about, oh, those satanic Jews who are controlling all of us. Oh, those satanic Jews. Oh, they're so evil and satanic and wicked. Oh, crap. um, Yeah, that's why I wanted to show you there, guys. I didn't mean for this video to rumble on, but if you haven't checked out this book here, it's on archive.org. Check it out, The Federal Reserve Conspiracy. Lots of information about the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt, who launched the Illuminist Communist Conspiracy, using Josephson's words. Um, yeah, I think that'll be all for this one. And actually, see here, this was a good excerpt here. The presence of Jesuit, and I mentioned Moon Landrieu, the president or the mayor of New Orleans in 1970, would have been working with Jesuit Theodore Hesburgh to with the civil rights movement. But you see the presence of Jesuit Theodore Hesburgh of Notre Dame on the board of trustees of Rockefeller's Foundation, side by side with its chairman John D. Rockefeller III, indicates the complicity and accord in their activities, including the agitation and incitement of the Negroes. I think it's more just to control and pacify. Well, for instance, like a lot of the Black Power doctrine, directly comes from the Jesuits, like the Black Hebrew Israelites, and it's the same with the white supremacist groups. All supremacist groups where you're polarized into like an individual faction like that, you'll find connections back to the Vatican because they're interested in just polarizing people's consciousnesses, and, in general. Um, but yeah, actually, China. Yep, the Jesuits built the statue of Matteo Ricci in China in 2010. And a comment from Pat Ratzinger on the last Rucci brief we did. China, I saw they're proposing to build like a railroad from China across the Bering Strait down to Canada through the U.S. all the way down to South America. So it'd be like the first New World Order railroad built by China. All of China's technology is given to them by like the U.S., Microsoft, General Electric. You have to think that a lot of the technology that China currently has was in the patents that the Opus Dei FBI agent, Opus Dei Robert Philip Hansen sent over to the Soviets. Bill Clinton, Jesuit trained, openly sent U.S. quantum computing supercomputer tech to China. I'll show you an archive.org article you got to read. It's called the OSS Aid to the Chinese Communists. And you see, like the Vatican was behind the communist China experiment from day one. Chiang Kai-shek's, they betrayed Chiang Kai-shek. His key advisor was Jesuit-trained Lee Lindsay, who had been directly in the thick of the betrayal. I think this is I put a clearer PDF up also. Oh, this might be the non-OCR'd one, but I'll show you the quote from. This is from the Military Intelligence Review. See the title of that? OSS in support of Chinese communists. It just happened to be the night of St. Sylvester, Wild Bill, Traitor Bill, as Johnny would say, William Donovan, who put this plan together to give American aid to the communists. We see here on the intelligence side, Major General William Donovan, a papist, soon to be OSS director, proposed in November 1941 that an American undercover mission be sent to North China to work with the communist partisans. If you look at that, the War Department noted critically that the communist guerrillas were too short arms, ammunition, and equipment. So give them more arms, ammunition, and equipment. Yeah. It's just that the late Jesuit Pierre Trudeau was praising Mao for his great leap forward. You can read an article in Maclean's magazine called "The Trudeau's Bond of Tyrants." Both Jesuit Trudeaus, Justin and Pierre, praised Mao and the great leap forward, and they both praised Fidel Castro and Raul Castro and the Jesuitized police state, communist police state that's been set up in Cuba. See here. And the author, Colonel William Spratcher, says, in fact, was Donovan actually aware of the separate OSS plan to arm the communists? Based on his decision to visit at the crucial time that plans for aiding the communists were being orchestrated, and also based on his well-known incessant interest in the most minute details of all unconventional and covert activities, I submit that the papist William Donovan was knowledgeable of the plan. So check out this article. This is from an official military source that you see that the OSS was aiding the communists from day one. Okay. Like, can't make it out. You see, there was a stat here. Yeah, so they dispatched 5,000 U.S. airborne units, trained technicians, in order to operate communist-held territories on missions of demolition and sabotage of Japanese installations. Yeah, I'm not going to read this whole article. There's details of the specific plans and the numbers of the supplies sent to the communists in here. They sent them 100,000 pistols. 100,000 pistols. I think that helped the Chinese communists come into power. That sure did. 100,000 pistols. Are you fucking kidding me? Pardon my language. Yeah, I think that's all for this one, YouTube. Oh man, the New Zealand has turned it. Yeah, New Zealand and Canada are turning into the police state. They're sending armed police in New Zealand to people's houses to intimidate them over like their social media posts and stuff. They can lock you in jail now if your content online is quote hateful. How broad is that? You know, in Canada now there's this Jesuit Trudeau's new drunk driving law. Now the government in Canada, if you're driving your car, let's say like you're going to the let's say you're driving your car, someone makes an anonymous tip saying, hey, Eric was driving his car and like he was like weaving around a bit, like he looked a little suspicious. And let's say, so I go home back to my house, crack open a beer. Let's say I'm coming home from work and I crack open a beer after work. The cops show up to my house an hour and a half after this occurs. They can legally now force you in Canada to take a breathalyzer 2 hours after you were driving. And if you blow over the legal limit, even if you were sober, completely sober while you're driving the car, if you blow over the legal limit, you go to jail. You get your license suspended for like a year or two, thousands of dollars in fines. This new drunk driving law is ridiculous. They have 2 hours after. It's unbelievable. So you can see how an average person can get nailed by a situation like that. You know, you go to a bar. You drive to a bar, park your car there for like an hour and a half because your friend is going to meet you an hour and a half later and drive you back to your house as a sober driver. And even if you walk out of the bar to the passenger side of the car, the police in Canada now can arrest you. So thanks to that Jesuit logic from Trudeau. It was the same Jesuit logic of Andrew Cuomo in New York, which now in the state of New York, if you have your magazine outside of your gun, but the magazine, let's say, is 2 feet away from your gun, but it's outside of your gun is loaded. Your gun is still loaded. That's the Jesuit logic in New York. Your gun is still loaded even if the magazine's out. How are you going to shoot your gun when the magazine's out? Oh, but it's still loaded. So yeah, Stephen. Yeah, I think Anderson is. I think he's a Jesuit. Personally, I think he's sent out there to, make a fool of himself and muddy the waters. He's not a Jesuit. He's certainly plugged into some, nefarious organization. Yeah, Anderson, like his preaching is very toxic. Like it's completely hate filled. There's barely any truth coming when he preaches. And actually, Anderson, I've seen him on a clip saying that Rome used to be. I think it was something along the lines that Rome used to be the mother of harlots, but not anymore. Something along the lines like that. He's a complete fraud. Yeah, that's all for this one, YouTube. Peace and love, and Namnas. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you on the next one.